All right, I have a fun one for you guys today. I have an interview with Kyle from Bazzite, and Kyle, if you don't know, is the founder of Bazzite, and it's a really awesome Linux gaming Linux distro thing. They don't want to call it a distro. We'll get to that in a minute. Now, the full version of this interview is going to be on the blog for paying members, for my patrons, and for my YouTube members. If you want to help support this show, you can head over to the blog and become a paying subscriber over there, and you'll get some access to some extras and some exclusives, like the full recording of this video. But if you haven't heard, the news cycle has made it seem like the sky is falling for Bazzite. Bazzite is based on Fedora. If you don't know, Fedora is a Linux distribution that is pretty neat. I really like Fedora. I'm running it on my framework laptop. But if you've watched or read the news at all recently, you might be led to believe that Fedora is about to end the Bazzite project. It's not true, but I wanted to reach out and hear from an authoritative figure on this matter, and that's why I reached out to Kyle and asked him to be on the show. So without further ado, let's get into it. Kyle, welcome to the show. Thank you for being here. How's it going, my friend?
It's going good. Hi, everyone. I'm very thankful to be here.
If for anybody who doesn't know, can you give them a high level overview of what Bazzite is and your role?
So I am a Linux community engineer at Microsoft, and I'm most well known for making Bazzite Linux, which is I'm not going to call it distro, it's a Linux container image that is designed to bring the absolute best of Linux gaming to all of your hardware, whether it's a desktop, an HTPC, a laptop, or any one of the really cool gaming handhelds that are now out there. And the concept is you boot to a functioning Steam game mode UI and use it just like you would a console. Stays out of your way.
Yeah, it's awesome. I have it installed on my HTPC out there. It's super cool. The reason I asked you on the show today is because there was like an announcement with Fedora about them removing 32-bit support. Could you explain what's going on with that?
Fedora as a project has a vested interest in getting rid of legacy stuff, which includes 32-bit libraries. Apple made a very similar move multiple times for multiple different things, but essentially you can't run 32-bit stuff on Apple computers. Even x86 now in general is being phased out. So Fedora wants to make a similar move. Their maintainers of their packages have to do extra work to maintain those 32-bit libraries. And as of right now, their build system is designed in such a way where every single package that's built 64-bit is also built 32-bit. So it's a lot of extra legacy stuff that isn't really necessary.
Mm.
So they started a proposal to eliminate i686 with a timeline of Fedora 44, which is a little over a year away now. And some alarm bells got rung by that because, unfortunately, Steam on Linux is still a 32-bit application. So
Mm.
we've had some back and forth with them, but that's the beauty of this process is it's not set in stone. It's more like a request for comment. So I gave my comments. I made the potential consequences of that decision clear. And so far, it looks like we've been able to carve out a series of very compelling options that will resolve the immediate concern and allow projects like Bazzite to continue under Fedora.
Mm. What are your suggestions? Like, what are the things that you proposed?
My initial proposition was to actually close that proposal and reopen it because I felt the wording of it was going to ring alarm bells and result in a lot of bad press,
Mm.
which it did, but it happens sometimes. People take things out of context or report things too early. Outside of that, there's been some really good proposals by Neil Gompa at Fedora, which is to use some of their other tooling that they have available to eliminate the i66 packages that are unnecessary and only produce ones that are needed for a given use case.
Mm.
So that would mean, Steam and OBS have the libraries they need, and all the extra cruft just gets eliminated and never built, which would be great.
Yeah.
And then there's some other options too about setting up SIGs and different methods of continually tallying what 32-bit packages are still important and maintaining those separately, maybe in their own repo. Any one of those options would be fantastic because it allows Steam to continue to be the way it is until at which time Valve is ready to perhaps move Steam to a 64-bit application.
Is there any signaling on Valve's part if that's going to happen or when?
Valve doesn't normally comment on anything.
Yeah, I
Um,
wasn't sure if you had any insider knowledge or not. I don't.
no, our attempts to make contact haven't reached anyone yet.
Yeah.
But there is some precedence where Ubuntu made this similar decision quite a long time ago,
Yes.
and Valve or Pierre came out and said, hey, we're just going to end of life Ubuntu. We won't support the version that you're proposing ever again, and this just dies here. So they might go the same route, or they might not, because they just built 64-bit Steam for macOS, because otherwise it couldn't exist in that platform at all. But there's different ways to look at it. I mean, if I'm running Windows right now, um, WoW 64 for 32-bit applications on Windows is still a thing, and there's no announced death date for that. So there's still some utility in supporting, 32-bit in the future. It's just a matter of how much.
Interesting. So you mentioned that you proposed a solution. What's going on? Like, what is the state of this proposal at this point?
Right now, it looks good. There's no single agreed upon decision, but the options on offer are all good. Basically, all of them are alternatives to the stated one. Um, this will go to Fedora's steering committee to vote on it and decide the final um, option that's going to be used, which is when this goes from being speculation to actually being news.
Mm.
But from what I've seen and how positive people are being, I have confidence that they're going to make a fair decision that allows this to continue in the medium term.
If Valve doesn't support 64-bit for the foreseeable future, what are the options for Linux distros that want to get rid of 32-bit as much as possible?
So this is part of the conversation and part of why it was kind of difficult to explain the consequences of this decision,
Yeah.
because in traditional Fedora, I might skip the Steam RPM altogether and use the Flatpak, which does come with 32-bit libs. So this decision is not a problem at all.
Mm.
But on Bazzite, Steam is more or less operating as a desktop environment. It
Mm.
needs to be a native package. The sandboxing that is a wonderful feature for Flatpak. Don't get me wrong. I'm Flatpak's number one defender. Prevents our specific use case.
Mm-hmm.
So if Valve never went 64-bit and Fedora had a more reasonable drop, like let's say they do Fedora 46 is when it finally drops, and somehow Steam's unavailable by then. From our team's perspective, we would have years to figure out the best way to build our own 32-bit Fedora libraries for the ones we need,
Mm-hmm.
which would suck, but the extra time makes all the difference. And then, barring that, there you have the 32-bit 2038 bug that will bite all 32-bit applications. So that is Valve's cutoff, whether they want it to be or not. It must be 64-bit by then, including on Windows.
Mm-hmm. Nice. So you mentioned earlier that like some of the media picked up on it and turned it into a big hullabaloo, right? So from your perspective, this is not like the end of the world, right? This is like just a proposal, and the people at Fedora have taken yours and other feedback.
Yeah, I don't think it's the end of the world at all. Liam from Gaming on Linux did a very fair article on this as well. And how the public reads something versus how it's reported are also two different things. So
Mm-hmm.
no matter what people said, it was going to be read by someone else and, then become the sky is falling.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Overall, the beauty of the Fedora proposal system is until it's actually codified, there's nothing happening. And right now, nothing's happening. The future of Bazzite is safe, and all of the options being discussed are good options for Bazzite.
Mm-hmm.
So no need for fear, but there's certainly still conversation and decision making to be done.
Well, that's good to hear. Now, you mentioned the future of Bazzite. And I wanted to talk about Bazaar a little bit because Bazaar is a very impressive application. Can you tell me for can you explain to the audience who might not know what is Bazaar?
Yeah, Bazaar is a new FlatHub centric store. The existing front ends that we have right now are Discover on KDE and GNOME software, and those are good tools in their own right, but they are kind of jack of all trades, master of none.
Yeah.
They do a lot of traditional distro packaging stuff that is just not important or not a thing on a atomic or cloud native image like we're putting out. And Bazaar is kind of this reset. It is a FlatHub centric, FlatHub first option that exposes all of the goodness you can get at FlatHub. It
Mhm.
manages Flatpaks super fast. It's got queued installs and removals, curated store, the ability for us to hide apps so people don't go accidentally install the Steam Flatpak when it's already on the system. And it exposes everything FlatHub offers, like the verified app checkbox, or how many downloads something has gotten, or the donation link that might actually get one of these open source developers some money for their hard-earned work.
I remember like a long time ago, Elementary was like working on putting um, donations into their like package manager, and I don't remember anything really coming of it. I mean, I think that they added it, but I didn't hear much after they added it. And this is something that also I've heard a lot of other distros trying to solve too. So how is Bazaar trying to solve this in a unique way?
Yeah, well, it's actually FlatHub themselves that are doing it. They want
Oh,
to offer direct payments for the app developers through FlatHub. And
that's
I
cool.
think what separates that effort from anything Elementary did is the model. Um, Elementary is great. The idea was good then, it's good now, but it was distro-centric. That was for elementary apps that run on elementary OS, and FlatHub is in this position of running on literally everything. So it is a lot more eyeballs on that. While Bazaar is the only store right now exposing those links, I don't think it's going to be the last, and those links are still available on the Flathead website as well.
I think having it be like distro agnostic is the right approach. And having it go through FlatHub just makes a lot of sense.
Absolutely.
Can you tell me about like the development process? I heard about Bazaar like 2 weeks ago, and it's already like a fairly mature thing. I think that's really neat.
Yeah, it's a one developer project, which is incredible given the amount of work that's been put into it. But Universal Blue is throwing its full support behind it. We really love what's going on there, and I think it's going to turn into a very positive future for that developer. I see an option where this becomes an official GNOME Foundation tool, just in the same way that Tixis did not that long ago.
Yeah, it's a really cool thing out. If you guys haven't tried it, it's not in stable yet for Bazzite. No, but it's
Not yet. It's
not yet.
very close. I think
Yeah,
we're just waiting on search integration for KDE and then a couple minor bug fixes, and it'll be ready to go out. But if you want to try it now, it's in the testing branch of every Bazzite image.
yeah. I did a video. I think it might have been a week ago about how to get into the testing branch on Bazzite, and it's really straightforward and super neat. I'm a big fan of Bazzite. Like you guys are integrating like cool like cloud native technology into don't call it a distro, but I think that's really cool. Um, so it was actually because of Bazzite that I installed Fedora workstation on my laptop. Um, because like I had been like kind of bouncing between Ubuntu and Manjaro for a long time and getting like playing around with Bazzite. It was like maybe I should just give Fedora another shot. And it had been like 16 or something years since I had like really tried um, Fedora out, and I really like it. It puts the GNOME experience like first class. Like I don't think I've used another distro that treats GNOME with such respect, and it's so stable and smooth. I love it.
Yeah.
Um,
Same with KDE over there. The Fedora KDE SIG is a lot of the KDE developers. I mean, it's amazing work.
yeah, for sure. So, tell me about like the health of the Bazzite project at this point. Like, I know there's been some like the Fedora scare with the 32-bit libraries and stuff, but like, what's going on with Bazzite?
Bazzite's been really good. George gave a number recently that kind of blew my mind. In the last year, we have had more than 1,000 different contributors across Universal Blue,
Wow.
most of which went to Bazzite. So these are people who, a lot of the times, never even contributed to an open source project. But you make it easy, you make the games work, and people pop in and change what they can and make the improvements that they want to have done.
When you started Bazzite, did you see it becoming like what it was today? Like what it is
Absolutely
today?
not.
No.
No. No, I was a web developer doing a cloud native image in my spare time.
Yeah.
Funny enough, the origin of this was actually the you ever heard of North Star?
No, I haven't.
Not It's not Linux related, but Titanfall 2 is a very popular game. It's a shooter that has mechs, and there's a modding project called North Star for it, which adds a server browser and the ability to host dedicated servers to that game. Also lets you mod it so you can do like custom maps. Somebody ported DDust over to it not that long ago. In there was a Linux channel, and it was just people who happened to play North Star on Linux. And there was one day where Tony, one of the members of that Discord and a good friend of mine, posted one of George Castro's videos, who I had never met before. Um, Him and I were already using Fedora Silverblue at the time and kind of, falling in love with the atomic model. So when I saw George saying, "Oh, you can make your own," I was like, "Okay, let's try it." So I spent a weekend. I made my own cloud native image the same way George recommended, and thought, cool, neat. Drop that. A couple months go by. I am helping people with the Steam Deck disc or on the Steam Deck Discord install packages because I'm already used to immutable workflows because of my Silverblue time. So, hey, this is how you would make Podman work. Hey, this is DistroBox. Yeah, use the FlatHub. You shouldn't be trying to install the whatever package they had. Probably a deb. New Linux. They don't know how this stuff works.
Right.
But I knew all of the shortcomings or issues that SteamOS had or the ways it could be better. And I kind of looked at my own Silverblue install again and said, hey, wait a minute. This does all of the immutable stuff better than SteamOS does. What would it take for me to port all of the SteamOS packages to Silverblue?
Mm.
In a new container, I ported all of it over in a weekend, looked at the final product that kind of booted on a Steam Deck and showed Steam and said, great, that's awesome. Walked away from it. But when I came back a week later, there were a ton of open pull requests from I Can't See You, who is actually now at Chain Guard.
Mm.
And I saw, like, okay, there's promise here. People are interested. Like, let's continue. So him and I, kind of pair programmed on it and worked on this thing. And eventually George Castro found it, introduced himself, and I got brought into Universal Blue. The rest is history.
Mm. So Bazzite's in a good place, right? How does Bazzite work with other like Linux gaming distros?
Oh, we all share as much as we can. There's
Yeah.
a Linux gaming Discord where you can find a lot of developers from Chimera OS, from Casio OS, from Nobara, and a lot of times we communicate in there about changes that are incoming, or we'll just share code. The Steam Deck versions of Nobara actually use the packages that I wrote a very very long time ago. And in return, Glorious Eggroll has given us a lot of patches for things like Steam resetting your audio config when you switch between desktop and game mode. And, we've pulled in all of the wonderful changes he's made for Proton or Wine Fixes or Mesa, anything of the sort. So we try to share that load because making Linux gaming better for one of us makes it better for all of us. And the more people
Absolutely.
we can get gaming, the better a chance we have of getting publishers to consider that we exist and put games on our platform, even if it's through a compatibility layer like Proton.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. And also, the more people we have gaming on Linux, the better our future is for contributing back to Linux. Because I
Absolutely.
feel like Linux, like if you get like kids interested in Linux through gaming, they will see that it is better, and then they will grow up and create even better things for Linux going forward. And
Yeah,
I absolutely love that.
that's kind of been the beauty of Universal Blue as a project. a lot of the people that have contributed to us have gone on to get industry jobs. I'm one of them. I
Yeah.
was a web developer. Now I'm a Linux guy at Microsoft. I can't see you, RJ. He got a job at ChainGuard,
Hmm.
and there's a really good chance that the developer of Bazaar is looking at a Linux job here too. Like
Yeah.
it would have been sad to have had to offload users from Bazzite because this has been such a powerful tool for both contributing to Linux and actually producing more professional Linux developers.
Is there anything else that we should cover before we end this?
You brought up at some point the website, and then in the background, I ended up popping up the Cloudflare stats. I don't know if you're
Mm.
interested, but these
Oh
are
yeah.
numbers I can't just post like we do all of our other numbers because Cloudflare doesn't have an API to export these that I'm aware of.
Mm.
But if you're interested, I can give them out.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. So the Bazzite.gg website in the last 30 days has had 425,000 unique visitors
Wow.
and has served, so this would be ISO count, 791 terabytes of data.
Oh, wow.
We're getting really close to having to reach out to Cloudflare and be like, would you please sponsor us?
Yeah. For that can't be cheap, huh?
Cloudflare is not too bad. We do it on R2, which has free egress. So my last bill was only like 25 bucks. But that's part of the UBlue way. We do everything we can to keep our hosting costs and our operational costs near zero, which is, I mean, I don't think any other Linux distro serving installable ISOs can come even close to that. It's kind of the beauty of this cloud native model.
Right, for sure. Are you hosting like a web seed, like a torrent for your images or
There is one now, but it's community run, and whatever they put is not in the number I gave you. That number is purely direct download ISOs through Cloudflare.
okay. That's crazy. How big was it again?
791 terabytes.
Oh man, that's
Yeah, and
crazy.
in 30 days.
In 30 days. And that's as of today.
That's as of right now.
All right, that's June 25th, 2025, in case anyone wants to know. That's wild.
I would have never expected it. It is actually insane to be in the position that I am in, and I can only just say thank you to everyone for your support.
Yeah. I swear by Bazzite. I think is one of the best not distros out there. What's the term you guys prefer?
We just say it's an image or it's
Image.
a
Sure.
cloud native Linux or whatever you want to call it. It's just
Yeah.
hard to call it a distro because we're not doing distro things.
Right. No, can you explain what you mean by that? Like that you're not doing distro things.
We we piggyback off of Fedora because our entire build architecture is set up the same way that you would a Docker container file. If you're at all familiar with that, essentially every or in English, really, for anyone not interested or invested in that system, if we do a build, we pull the absolute latest thing that Fedora has actually built, and then we transform it through what is essentially a bash script. And what comes out the other end is a Bazzite image.
Mm,
So all of the security hardening work and CVE handling and package updating happens at Fedora, and we only concern ourselves with the parts that need customization for our given use case.
mm, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And that's like part of like the universal blue. Um,
That's the whole model for everything here.
yeah, that's awesome.
So Universal Blue has a main image, which is what pulls from Fedora. It just does the quality of life stuff, like making sure hardware encoding and all that works. And then Bazzite consumes the main image, and what comes out is Bazzite, as everyone knows it.
Mm, awesome. Cool. Is there anything that like the audience out there needs to know about Bazzite that we didn't talk about already?
I think we covered most of it. I mean, we're always looking for more contributors. Part of the beauty of this model is that everything is built in GitHub, where it's very easy for anyone to contribute. So if you feel like there's a change that could be made for the better, and you're willing to, learn and make that change, pop into our GitHub, check out the issues, look through our code. It's all available right there, and
Hmm.
PR anything you like. We're never gonna be mad at you for PRing a change we don't accept, we're going to say thank you, even if it has to be closed.
Mm, excellent. And anyone can pull requests, right? Like this, it's not like
Yeah, there's no sign up process. There's no authentication. If you have a GitHub account, which is free to make, you can PR anything you want.
yeah, that's kind of the beauty of projects like this. It's very community driven. Um,
Yeah,
cool.
that's kind of the life that it's taken on now that SteamOS is available for handhelds. Bazzite is the community run alternative to it, and we're going to try to own that as best as we can.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, Kyle, thank you very much for being here with me today. I
Thank you
appreciate
for having
it.
me on. I really appreciate it.
Cool. And